Welcome to Joy Vault Works. This is Season 1, Episode 2, Designing Merch for the Southwest Coast Path. In this episode, Jude will be taking you through his design process for the T-shirts that we are creating for the Southwest Coast Path. So, for those not familiar with the path, it's an amazing adventure from Dorset to Devon to Cornwall, back to Devon, and then ending in Exmoor. And so the idea is we'll have a series of T-shirts for each of these routes, each T-shirt collectible and celebrating the uniqueness of each and every path.
This is Jude, the designer for iconic merch. So what we've been rustling up is something to celebrate the Southwest Coast Path, and as you can see, I've been very busy. I always work quite I suppose messily if you look at all the stuff that I've put out, all the inspiration, all the different properties and iconic venues that we'll be trying to promote and show off on our new range of T-shirts. So Georgie and Mark have been talking to me about how they like this new range to look, and they gave me this initial design, which is a very clever idea of having 7 shirts that go all the way through the coastal path around the southwest. So we start off in Exmoor with number 1, we have a couple in Devon, sneak into Cornwall, and then back to Devon, and then the final one being Dorset. So they showed me a bit of inspiration. We've got this Darts Farm T-shirt here, which is served as inspiration for our designs. So initially, as you can see, I found a few more different map designs and things like that, which we sort of went with. But you can see here, this is the actual map of the coast path, and we've tried to follow that as accurately as we can, promoting and highlighting the many iconic venues along that path. So I started off with a colourful different design. So I started off with this. So we created I suppose more of a printed, I don't know how you'd call it, block work, trying to think what the word is, but it's more of a graphic, more graphical design, where we took the different properties and the different venues, and we created them in this sort of block print design, popped a few little animals in around there as well, and gave it this very much vintage design. But we then worked our way through into more of a hand-drawn, hand-painted, I suppose, hand-designed version, where it was certainly a lot simpler with one colour, and we've been able to sort of crack on from there, really. So you can see how we've gone from this design here, which is very colourful, lots of different colours, to the one colour design, which is a lot more hand-drawn, a lot more handmade. So there's the 2 different styles we've been going with, and this is the one that we have stuck with. So you can see this is the plan. This is how we plan on creating the different shirts along the path. So you can see again at the top we have here, this is the Exmoor part, then we go into Devon, and then we sneak into Cornwall, and then back to Devon, then back to Dorset at the end. So we've been putting them all along, all the different venues and properties highlighted by Mark and Georgie, to pop on and put them onto the shirt. So you can see here, this is again what you've seen, but as we carry on down the path, we've then got more and more properties and venues and iconic locations that we've been able to add into it, and we've decided to do each one a different colour, just so if you collect one, they don't all look the same in your wardrobe. They all look a bit different as you go down the path. So it could be you might buy all 7, it could be someone goes in and goes, you know what, that's the only part I know. Maybe you live in one of these areas, you go, no, I fancy just that one. So we're making it a real variety with different colours and different venues on each. So you can see we've carried on with this sort of more hand-drawn style, and as we zoom out again, we can see again a lot of the inspiration where I've taken the coast path from. But you can see here all the different properties and venues that we've been able to highlight. So some of these have been for the Dorset, the Exmoor one. Some have been for the Devon one. We've come down to the Cornish ones here, and now we're finally going to the tip on the peninsula, and I'm already halfway through creating one. So the way I've been doing it has been fairly straightforward. Some properties are easier to draw than others, purely because they are standalone properties. When they're sort of joined up and attached to other things, you've got to try and get the essence of the property without putting in too much which shouldn't be there. So it's just been a case of very roughly drawing around the edges of the different properties and the venues. So this one here is for Sloop, and I believe this is in the real heart or end of the peninsula in Cornwall. I should know exactly where it is. Let's have a look. Can I see it written down somewhere? Sloop in, it's not saying. Anyway, you get the idea. But yeah, basically every single property has been hand drawn by myself, going through each line, each part of a property, highlighting the bits which are more famous than others. So obviously sometimes there are really iconic bits of the pubs, like things outside, posters, logos, that sort of thing. So really trying to highlight them. There's been a lot of windows. I've got used to drawing a lot of windows. Whether I've got any better at drawing windows, who knows, but I've drawn a lot over the course of this project. Thankfully, we're not too difficult. So as we go in, we could draw the windows. So this bit here, I'm not quite sure. I don't think that's part of it. So we can just draw the roof line across here, and we'll find that actually this is something totally different. So we don't have to worry about that. And then obviously here, I'm not sure if this part is part of the pub. I'm going to assume it isn't, because if they've taken a picture of a pub, that this is not part of it. So we can bring the line down here and across. And as this design gets more completed, maybe it needs a little bit of something here just to show there's a bit of an edge to it. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This is one I've done earlier in true Blue Peter style. This is a driftwood spars, and again, this is in the same part of Cornwall. And what I've been able to do, going from this hand-drawn design, we'll be able to take it out. There we are. It looks very similar to what we've got so far with these properties here, but to turn it from something that looks like this in the pink to something that looks like more like this for the shirts, it's a very simple process. I think, as far as I can tell, I've tried to make more similar sizing. Yeah, so it probably needs to be slightly bigger to match the others. So there we are, we can scale that up, we'll bring that across here. And what we've been doing is we've been taking off this stroke. This is all in Adobe Illustrator, by the way, if you weren't sure. We've been able to take the stroke, and I believe I've been following the same stroke the whole time. What has it been? I think it is, yes, if I remember, I think it's 8-point stroke. There we are, and it is this different width profile, which again gives it a much better, more hand-drawn look. It's a bit rough. Some of the text looks a bit rougher, but it really fits in with the overall aesthetic of the shirt. So I can expand that out, so that we can then pick the colour. So we're down in this part of Cornwall here. We haven't actually picked a colour yet, so maybe we could pick a swatch for the colour. So we've got, let's have a look, we've got the light green for Exmoor, we've got the sort of aquary, darker bluey green for the southwest, for the Devon. As we get to Cornwall, we've got the light blue, maybe a dark blue could be nice. So let's have a think what colour we could go for that. Let's see, that's very similar to the last one. Go for like a royal navy blue, that could be quite nice. So we'll turn that into this colour here. There we are. And then we can select this. Oh, here we go. This is what happens when you don't select thing. There we go. Hopefully that, there we are. That's all selected, that one. Yep, nothing else with it. Fantastic. So we should be able to expand that out. Pick it as that colour. No, pick it as that colour. There we are. We bring it down, we can scale it out. So the reason I've done them all the same size is because as they're made smaller for the shirts, they should all look fairly good next to each other. Yeah, so the strokes are all very similar widths and sizes, even though we've drawn them from obviously very different images. So we can pop that one. This is probably going to be one of the first properties up here. Let's probably slide it down here. So if we imagine this is the T-shirt, the available space for printing, this is the whole map of the area, and this is our first property. So if I bring down a bit of text, font is it in? Let's have a look. That's in the Hushka rounded font. There we are. I've not used it before, but it looks pretty good for what we need. Turn it a nice blue colour, and then I have to work out, it was for driftwood spars, wasn't it? So we can train that to driftwood.
Now we've already done a little bit of promotion with this one, reaching
sure.
out on Instagram and Facebook, trying to get a little bit of feedback on our design so far. The idea is to build this in the open and give people the chance to have their say on the different designs and the things that we should include.
But rather than a spar, it's actually a pub. So there we are. So that's how we would do it. So as we go across, so the next one would be the sloop in, which I've partially done a little bit of. And it's that sort of similar process as we go along, really. And I think as we start adding all the famous venues and properties as we go along the path, we'll also be adding in local interest. So although not one of the iconic venues of Exmoor, pub or hotel, we've got Exmoor Zoo included in this one, a few animals as well as with some sheep and horses. So I'm sure as we go across there'll be some fish in some as we get down into Cornwall, and as we go to the Jurassic Coast in Dorset we'll be adding some fossils and things like that. So lots of different bits and bobs will be added as we go along to create this one final map. So it could be you go for one shirt, it could be you go for all 7, but I think Mark and Georgia got plans for how to, once they're all printed, lay them all out and you show the entire coast route of the Southwest Coast Path. So there we are. As you can see, we've turned it from lots of different designs, starting from this initial idea. As we zoom out, you can see all the work and different ideas that have come in and inspiration and all the different new venues that have been added, and as we add them in we're starting to get a bit of a nice picture coming up with the different things all the way across as we go down. And I'm just going to continue over the next few days, few weeks, adding more onto these until we finally got standalone shirts which work really well with like a sign or route locations, names and things like that. As we layer more and more on top, we should have something really exciting, something a bit different as well, and something for people to buy who are going along the coast path. It could be you've done one section, you could do 3 or 4, you might have done all 7 sections, but there'll be something for everyone in this collection. So there we are, that's me, the Jude, the designer, working for iconic merch as we work together to create something really cool for the Southwest Coast Path.